They give us Bantu education so that they can give us racial discrimination against blacks. It teaches us that we can never do things like they do, because at all times, a black man must remain subservient to a white man, and they are never allowed to compete in job situations. Hey, ta! Ta! Hey, ta! Ta!
We are gathered here today and tomorrow on the basis that there are multiple crises facing South Africans and this country as a whole, particularly us as young people who have to comprehend and grapple with how do we solve some of these problems. But we do so knowing that there's a legacy of long activism that we are basically carrying forward in our day-to-day work and why we brought here today. So 50 years ago, in June 1976, many young people took to the streets in revolt, in an uprising that became world-renowned.
The young people of June of 76, what they really did is they did two things. One is they identified their issue and they made their issue the center of the struggle. The second thing that they did is they pulled their elders and the adults back into the struggle and back into the streets kicking and screaming. Because one other thing that was happening at the time was that the adults' despair had led them into the beer halls, had led them to capitulate into alcohol and drugs. And so it was the young people that said to their parents, we are going back to fight for the country. And so this year, as we set out a mission for the next 50 years, I implore you as young people to realize that you are going to have to lead us out of this. Where we are right now in this country, you do not only need to agitate, you need to lead. The young people of 76 led the country back into struggle. I'm going to ask you guys to lead us, not to be led by us. Do not ask for space, take up space, so that we don't just say 50 years ago, we say 50 years from now, they will say this of this young generation.
I feel very positive today. I feel very positive because I can feel the energy in this room and I can feel a sense that young people want to make a difference. And you often hear this, the young people of today are not like those of yesterday, don't you? You hear it all the time. And I think that's fundamentally unfair because each generation finds its own challenges. It defines its own legacy and it makes its own contribution. If we proudly proclaim that we have one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, why have we become a more unequal society 30 years later when we were meant to dismantle inequality and to become a more equal society? Some people ask the question of us today, if everybody today in South Africa says apartheid was so bad, why did it take so long to overcome apartheid? Where was the problem? The problem was that there were too many people complicit in upholding the apartheid state. And the complicity wasn't just amongst white people. There were many black people who were complicit in that. In 10 years' time or in 20 years' time, someone will ask of this generation, with the most amazing constitution in the world and the resources to go with it, why did it take so long to address poverty and inequality in South Africa? What will your answer be? Thank you.
If there can be something that must lead young people today, yes, participate. Yes, get involved. But for goodness sake, lead. Lead. We cannot be having these elections coming up and then still having you participating by voting for these wrinkles. And you cannot be. Let us see young people making this election youthful. Let us see you leading. Do you have the register for everyone who's here? I'm going to check if you have taken a position as a councillor. To me, that is very, very important. In 1976, that message was the strongest, that we wanted to be involved, we wanted to participate, but out of it all, we wanted to lead. That is why they would speak of you as a future tense. Young people are the leaders of tomorrow.
I came into this platform. I've been leading in the grassroots for quite a while in the Eastern Cape, and one of the hardest things is getting into the leadership role, because the people that are supposed to give the opportunities to us are not there. They still want to continue with the opportunities. I was one of the privileged young people to actually get a chance to lead on a national platform. I think I was even one of the first in the Eastern Cape. People were shocked that I was from the Eastern Cape, because people know that we have to wait for the adults to lead. Even when you are leading, they say you need guidance. There needs to be an adult that will be there to guide you. So for me, I feel like as much as young people are told to lead, are told to be in the forefront, not all the adults are ready to move back and give us the platform.
As we progress as a society, it has become more and more evident that a matric certificate isn't enough to make it. Back then, all you needed was a matric certificate, and you could be a lawyer, you could be whatever you wanted to be. But now, you need to go to university, not just university, but you need to have work experience, you need to have connections, you need to have money, you need to have all of these things that the majority of our country don't have access to. And that's what I'm trying to change. I'm trying to provide everybody with access to opportunities. Because it's as the Justice said, we have to free the potential of everybody in our land. And that is what I aim to do. I aim to free the potential of every young individual in our city. And lastly, wellness. Because there's been an increase in mental health issues and disabilities and things of that sort. And I mean, 44% of people who are getting treatment for drug use are youth. And that says something. It says that we need to take care of our youth more. Because if we are the leaders of the future, we need to start acting like it. We need to start being taken care of. And as much as we are the leaders of tomorrow, why can't we be the leaders of today? The future starts now. And it's important that we recognize that and we start changing it now.
It's been said quite a lot this June of each generation chooses the struggle and take it over, so to speak. But the question remains the same. The structural of the economy was not changed in 76. It's still not changed in 2026. Is it the same struggle
At another level.
At another level?
That was my cry also, if you have heard me, that let's just be careful in compartmentalizing.
Sure.
And this thing is going to kill our communities and our struggle. Now, this is the struggle of Mandela's. This is the struggle of the June 16th. This is Fees Must Fall. This is going to kill us.
Sure.
Struggles are connected. They just get connected at different levels. You know?
Different moments, but the struggle of it, the struggle of 1912 is still the same.
In another form.
Sure.
So that to me is very, very critical. And I wish, instead of us, calling the national indabas, I wish we can call a national dialogue of how do we connect our struggles.
50 years from now, I envision a Johannesburg and a South Africa in which the potential of every young individual, the potential of every individual within our country and within our city is then acknowledged. We then open that potential and provide them with opportunities. We make sure we take care of them and their well-being when it comes to physical and mental, especially the youth, because they are the next generation of leaders. 50 years from now, I will no longer be a part of the youth. 50 years from now, I'll be 66. My time will have come and my time will have gone. But something I want to leave our youth with is the determination, the ambition, and the belief that you can always inflict change on the society in which you live in, because we cannot be comfortable. And 50 years from now, I envision an entire group of young individuals who will do better than I did, who will do better than Tate Seth Mazibuko did. I envision a group of youth who will take change to the next level.
We're surrounded by a lot of the trauma of the past. We're literally on Con Hill. We're surrounded by that trauma. At the point at which we as society aren't able to look back and see what that mentally did to people, that is what causes people to become apathetic. A lot of the older generation, if they're not going to be talking about 1976, or they're not going to be talking about what they went through, is because they're shutting it out. It's because you don't want to talk about what happened back then because it's over now. You know, I got to vote, it's over now. I don't need to talk about what it did to me mentally. I don't need to talk about what it did to me physiologically. I don't need to talk about the PTSD that it caused. But those are actual issues that if you don't deal with it, we deal with it. We then deal with that generational trauma being passed down to us. That is why you'll see people not wanting, that's why racism hasn't fully ended yet. Because people are still holding on to the past and that trauma that happened there, and we're experiencing it now. We're now dealing with that. We're now living that. We haven't dealt with the trauma of what happened, so now we're being surrounded by it and being told, lead in a society that is still bleeding.